Hey guys, so in this video, I'm going to walk you through my entire character design process from very first rough ideas all the way to the final render. This isn't really a strict tutorial, it's more like me explaining how I think while designing a character, what decision I make and why. So yeah, let's get into it. I always start with thumbnails. That's where I figure out overall shape, mood and the presence of the character. During the thumbnail phase, I use a square hard brush. I like doing that because it forces me to think in clear shapes and strong silhouettes, instead of getting lost in details. For this phase, I already have a base female pose that I use for a lot of my projects. It saves ton of time because I don't have to redraw and anatomically correct pose every single time. This mostly works when the character has a normal human structure. If the design is very exaggerated or heavily stylized, then this base may not work. In those cases, I usually create a new base specifically for that character. Over time, building a small library of base poses is actually super helpful, especially if you design characters often. For this character, I wanted to design a high authority royal figure from an advanced fiction in dystopian world. I was aiming for something elegant and royal, but also minimal and controlled. I didn't want too many details, just enough to communicate power. Once I was happy with the overall design, I moved on to the sketching for mannerisms. This is where I think about things like how does she use her hands? How does she sit on her throne? What kind of presence does she have? I wanted a balance between traditional royal aesthetic and cybernetic elements. So the implants are there, but they are very subtle. They are not meant to scream cyberpunk, just quietly suggest advanced technology. I also come up with the idea that her simple round ornament could also be used as a weapon. They allow her to access her power of ancestors. For this phase, I mostly used Pinterest references. After this phase, I created a clean sketch in a very simple pose just for color exploration. At this stage, I separated everything into different layers: skin, clothes, ornaments and so on. It definitely takes more time, but it makes experimenting with colors much more easier later. You can change things really quickly without repeating everything. For the color scheme, I was looking for something gold dominant to show her elite status. And for the eyes, I used a glowing color that fits naturally with that palette. Once I had clear idea for the colors, I moved on to the final render. I chose a pose that shows her personality, royal, elegant, but also commanding enough to demand respect. Another important choice was her eyes. I decided not to give her visible pupil because her eyes are cybernetic implants. That way, you can't really tell where she is looking. It really helps hide her intentions and make her feel a bit more intimidating. After blocking the pose, I refined it into clean line art. Again, I kept all the major elements on separate layers for coloring, and I used lasso for that. This gives me flexibility in cases I want to change something later. For color changes, I usually just play around with hue and saturation until it feels right. Then I create a new layer and work only in grayscale. In this layer, I focus on adding basic values like light and shadow. Picking a light source early really helps here, because you can clearly decide which areas are in light and which areas fall in shadow. I really recommend using a hard brush instead of soft brush in this process. A hard brush forces you to think about your brush strokes and the volume of the form, instead of just blending everything. I try to carve out the form using light and shadow and think more about dimensions. Once that's done, I set this layer into multiply. That way I can place it over the color layer and keep all the lighting information intact. Originally, I planned to use a different rendering technique, but midway through the process, it just didn't feel right. So I scrapped that and switched to using gradient layers for coloring process. Sometimes changing direction in mid process is just a part of it. I might make a separate video later where I break down this coloring method in more detail. Toward the end, I added more highlight to the character. I wanted an overall gold tint, so the lighting is mostly warm and golden. That really helped push her presence and give her more overwhelming and authoritative feel. And yeah, that's pretty much the process behind this character design. If you enjoyed this, let me know what you think in the comments. You can also check the full character sheet. I linked in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.